As the tussle for the leadership positions in the National Assembly intensifies, a civil society group, the Democratic Research Institute, is demanding that the North be given leadership positions in the National Assembly and a fair share of ministerial and other appointments. It states that since the North is not in control of both the executive and the judiciary arms of government, the region deserves a fair share of appointments. Our Rice correspondent Nisi Gabriel reports.
This is a roundtable on nation building and democracy, the perspective of northern Nigeria. Participants were drawn from all the 19 northern states of the country, and they are demanding a stake in governance, as they believe that the progress, transformation and development of the region hinge on it.
The decision to hold this roundtable was a response to the current political situation in the country and the preparation for the promulgation of the 10th National Assembly, particularly its leadership. The need to avoid the crisis of misrepresentation of our people and region in the distribution of reward for the political participation in the 2023 general election.
Participants deliberated on key sectors of the nation's economy and how it affects the northern region, and the expectations from the incoming administration of APC's Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They also added that APC's zoning of key National Assembly leadership positions won't stand because the majority of stakeholders were not consulted.
Because the party need to consult with its members before taking, this is not banana republic. If we are in democracy, the party need to consult with stakeholders and then come to a consensus. This is where we are going to. A group of 5 or 10 people cannot sit down in one room and decide the direction of which all of us should follow. All of us contested, all of us were elected by our people. You cannot just sit down in one room and decide to us, this is what instruction, take it or leave it. It won't work.
This executive government of the presidential system of government is run by 3 arms of government: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature. Already from this system, the 2 arms of government are gone. Looking at the contributions of the North towards the success of this party is 63.5%. So by that, we are asking for the 3rd arm of government to come to the North as in our equity.
The group says the Northwest region contributed 63.5% of votes in the just concluded elections, adding that if the region is not given a fair share of political appointments, it won't support the APC in subsequent elections.
The North also demands fair share of ministerial and other appointments. Such appointments should take cognizance of competence, integrity, track record. Otherwise, the region is left with no option than to divest its support for the government and the party in subsequent elections. Yes. This is the demands of the people of the North. He who has an ear, let him hear.
Nisi Gabriel, Arise News.
Well, that event took place at the iconic Arewa House in the heart of Kaduna, the presumed political headquarters of the former northern region. In times past, weighty decisions and pronouncements concerning the political well-being of northern Nigeria had been authored from that location, with a lot of those decisions going ahead to impact the overall unity and progress of Nigeria, one way or the other. As we heard from Nisi Gabriel's report, yesterday's event, put together by Democratic Research Institute, was no less eventful. Our next guest is Professor Al-Mustafa Ussiju Medaner, head of Roundtable Democratic Research Institute and a former National Organizing Secretary of the All Progressives Congress. Good morning, Prof. Good to have you join us on the morning show today.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Well,
good morning, Steve, for having me.
Okay, good morning. Thank you. Good to have you. Let's have some clarity about yesterday's event and the position of your organization, you know, the Democratic Institute, on what is considered to be a fair deal to the North. What are the issues, and why do you think that the decision of the APC as at now does not favor the North, when the Northwest already has the Deputy Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, in addition to the fact that the Vice President from the Northeast, of course, is also a Northerner? What are the issues? What are your complaints about, really?
As you said that you are seeking for clarification, Democratic Research Institute is an independent body, not a political association. And the roundtable was powered by the Democratic Research Institute, which I happen to be a consultant and head the roundtable of that organization. The participants were drawn from the northern part of the country, from the academic, from opinion molders, from community leaders, selected politicians, just to come and look at the issues of the North holistically. If you look at the theme of the program, is nation building, imperative of participation, equity, and equitable development of northern Nigeria. You know, when there is such gathering, people pick the political message and leave the developmental message out of the whole thing. From the prelude, from the video that was played, or the clip there, you have seen syndicate groups discussing issues of poverty, discussing issues of education, discussing issues of economy, security, and in that very gathering, the people came with a communique. That is the participant, not Democratic Research Institute. Is the participant that came up with their own solutions and demands. In this gathering, issues like street destitutions were looked into. The statistics shows that there are almost 11 million children on the street and out of school. If you have these out of school children, and the participant or the roundtable look at it, that almost 80% are from this part of the divide, from the northern part of the country. There was a proposal of a bill to establish commission for street destitution. Because government have tried, the government came up with policies of school feeding. Up till now, we are trying to bridge the gap. These children, the roundtable discovered that most of these children, they are breadwinners in their families. So if you try to bring school feeding, the parent might not have food on their table. Government must try to bring something to mitigate between the children and the parent. That is to empower the children. That is that. Now, when you come to the political issues, let me come back to your question. The communique in the political structure syndicates group came up with the demand. Let me give you some of the demands in that context. One, they analyze the votes given by each geopolitical zone. Secondly, they analyze the votes of aspirants. Let me take like two aspirants in this context. They took the votes given by, let's say, the senatorial district of Senator Godswill Akpabio. The president-elect got 11,000 votes from that senatorial district. But the senator got 115,000 votes. The Senator Ojikalu, got 30-something thousand votes. Well, the president-elect got 190, that is 190 votes from that place. The roundtable discovered that most of the senators, or almost all the senators and House of Representative members from the northern extraction, the margin of difference between the president's elect votes and that of the members' vote is minimal. That means they have worked hard to deliver the president. So the roundtable came up with a communique of demands that the judiciary is southwest, then the executive will be headed by the south. Then the demand was made that the National Assembly, which is the legislature, should be given to the northern part of the country if really the issue of Section 14 of the Constitution is to be implemented, or for the fairness of distribution of powers. All other appointments, the roundtable find out that it's the executive that appoints people. So all the appointments, they are under the executive, under the powers of the executive. This is just the summary of what has been discussed, or what the roundtable came up with.
Okay, all right, thank you, Professor Medaner. But let me engage with the two issues that you have described, arising from what the roundtable, the communique from the roundtable. First, you said that there are issues that they have identified that are problematic in the north. But a lot of people will wonder, why are these demands just coming out now? When a northerner who has been president, is just about completing 8 years. If you add the 3 years of former President Yar'Adua to it, the North will have served in presidential capacity for about 11 years plus. But then, were those issues not there? The same issues that the roundtable has now identified that you now want the incoming government of Ussiju Ahmed Tinubu to attend to. Those will be one of the key, the first questions that people will ask. How fair will that be on Ussiju Ahmed Tinubu when you didn't present, when the roundtable didn't present those problems to Muhammadu Buhari? Secondly, to you, what will constitute fairness? You are saying that because the West has the presidency and the judiciary, but people will also remind you that under this same Buhari, the North had the presidency, had the headship of the Senate, still does, and at a point had the headship of the CJN of the judiciary when Justice Tanko Muhammad, served between 2019 and 2022. The North had all the three, but here we are. You are now asking what the North couldn't concede under Buhari. You are now asking that under the new dispensation, the North should get a fair deal. How fair is fair from what the roundtable is saying? Could that be said to be, the demands, will you describe that really to be fair?
The roundtable is just about looking at policy of government and provide solution to the government, how those policies can impact on the society and those people targeted. You agree with me, votes are investment in democratic process. And the North gave votes to this very incoming government. And I could remember, I think, in 2015, there were similar demands, I think, made by Southwest leaders when this government, when the Buhari government was coming into power. So there is nothing wrong with people to sit down and look at their problems and demand for share in whatever they invest. If you have a company, the roundtable, I think one of the opinion or the recommendations in the roundtable is that, look, we have 63%, we produce 63% of the equity in this very project. And really, if we have 63%, we should have a voice to demand for certain things to be done to that very zone. And as I said before, this roundtable look at the policy of the current government and analyze those policies and provide solution how those policies can impact on the populace. Then now come to the issue of you raise, of people, let's say, heading the different arms of government. If you go back to 1979, the roundtable look at it that Joseph Wayes was the president of the Senate in 1979, while Umozuke was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Then Atanda Williams, the Chief Justice was Atanda Williams. Then if you come to this Fourth Republic, there are a lot of things that happen and nothing happened in the country. There was a time when David Mark was the president of the Senate, Ekore Madu was the deputy president of the Senate, Patricia Ete was the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and if you look at it, this thing happened too in the last dispensation, where you have the in the 8th Assembly, Saraki from Kwara State, from northern part of the country, was this president of the Senate, while Dogara from Northeast was the Speaker. The issue is who give what and who get what, and I think that is what the roundtable stands. We gave what, we deserve to get this. And I think that is just the message, and that is just the demand from the roundtable.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is a situation where the Northwest Geopolitical Zone is saying we should produce the next Senate president because of the effort the zone puts in producing the highest votes for the incoming President Bola Tinubu during the presidential poll. So how can the incoming administration now ensure that the zoning proposal that they have put forward does not become a tool for rewarding political allies or blocking the aspirations of qualified candidates from underrepresented regions? Did you hear me? Did you hear the question, sir?
No, please. No.
Okay, so talking about the fact that a lot of these arguments are based on the Northwest saying that the geopolitical zone should produce the next Senate president because of the efforts that the zone put in producing the highest number of votes for the president-elect Bola Tinubu. So shouldn't, how can the incoming administration ensure that the zoning proposal does not become a tool for just rewarding political allies or, even blocking the aspirations of qualified candidates from underrepresented regions? Because some would argue that there are certain regions that are already represented. Shouldn't the focus be on, on other regions as opposed to just, the North Central and Northwest?
The North was not looking at, the roundtable did not look at geopolitical zones in the North. What they are demanding, the communique was demanding the entire North. So wherever it goes, the balance will be made by other political appointments. And I think this is the fair recommendation of the roundtable. So they are not talking about a particular zone. All the zones in the northern part of the country to be allowed or should contest and participate in the process of electing the presiding officers in both chambers. That is the demand from the roundtable.
Yeah, but is that not trying to usurp the constitutional powers of the elected parliamentarians themselves? They are to determine who should be their principal officers. Why should a zone or a party, teleguide who becomes what in a democracy? And we have seen it before. You remember what happened in 2011, with the tambualization of the House of Reps. We've seen it in 2015 with Bukola Saraki, and the Dogara issue. What, in spite of everything, all this push, all these moves, what if the elected senators and House of Reps members decide to choose, as they are allowed to do by the Constitution, pick their own people, irrespective of who gave the highest number of votes or not? What if they just choose those that they believe can represent them very well and can represent the country? Will they not be opposed to such a move?
If you look at the gathering where, let's say, the participants were drawn from researchers, academics, not just politicians, community leaders. There are politicians that were invited from even opposition. So it was not talking about the party. It was talking about the entire northern elected members of the House of Representatives and the members of the Senate, not just the party. So if you look at it, the North has the numbers. If you go for election in the National Assembly, there are almost 58 senators from the northern extraction, almost 200 plus from the House of Representatives. And you know, the Constitution says the members will elect presiding officers among themselves. So, entirely, they will lobby for other zones to discuss with other zones who should be the deputy, who should be the Senate leader, who should be the other A-class committee, as they call them. You understand? So, this is what the Round Table is recommending. I think the Round Table constituted a committee that will go and lobby and follow up the discussion or the recommendation they made. And all the other areas that were discussed in terms of policy, they are going to submit such to the people concerned. So the Round Table is not just talking about just North. That's why it was called equitable distribution of power. When there is equity in everything, and you should know there will be fairness in it.
Okay, should I just take it that what the Round Table is demanding is that against what the APC NWC has recommended, that the North will not accept Senator Godswill Akpabio as the president of the 10th Senate. Will that be the position of the North? Is that what you're saying clearly?
The communique conspicuously stated that the North is demanding for the leadership of the National Assembly, that is, of the both chambers. That is just, and if you look at it, you have shown the communique signed by Professor Babatukur and the Secretary of the communique, Dr. Ben Isaac. It says non-negotiable demand.
Okay, so, I mean, this seems like something that, if we look at the APC, you know, the numbers don't tally. You don't have the numbers to unilaterally pick the Senate president. And now that, you know, they are looking at the insides of the party, planning to impose what some will call an unpopular candidate. Now, are you saying that if it gets to that point, the opposition is willing to work with, you know, other people in the House they're not comfortable with what's going on to choose who they want? Now, they're saying with 50 senators-elect working together, what is needed is just 5 APC senators-elect to stop this ruling from happening. So is it something that is so needed by the North that they would rather work with an opposing party just to make sure that who they want comes out as the Senate president and even as someone in the House of Reps as well?
Let me repeat again. The Round Table was not looking at a party, was looking at people that were elected from the North. Let me just go back to the 60s. There was the MPC, the political party from the North, was, I think, there was a hung parliament in that very era. The NCNC, AG, they had more members in the parliament, where MPC was having very little, let's say their members were not much, because there were other political parties in the North, like NEPU and Middle Belt Forum and others, and they all had parliamentarians that were elected. There was alliance made between NCNC and MPC. At the end of it, MPC produced the prime minister at that material time. In the Second Republic, between MPN and MPP. There was an alliance. MPP of Zik got the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Ussiju. So this is not the first time. Let's go to 2011. And I think all the parties that are involved in this thing should be very, very careful. In 2011, there was an alliance between CPC, ACN, and some PDP members to produce Tambuwal as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. So once these people get into National Assembly, it's not an election of a political party. It's an election of members of the National Assembly. Now in the House of Representatives, you have almost 182 oppositions members that were elected. And if you look at it, they have this. So that's why you need to go into consultation and counter-consultation. You go into lobbying. What the North is saying is just a demand. Yes, we are going to is give and take. If such things happen with NCNC, with the highest number, and they deem it right, and they look at the North, that look, we can give you the prime ministership based on so-so and so-so agreements. The same thing, now, the North has given the highest vote. Out of the 8-point-something million votes, the North gave 5-point-something million votes. So they can go and negotiate. That is what the roundtable look at and is going to pursue those things. It's not just, to alienate other zones or to somehow underrepresent other zones. No, it's negotiation. And we have reason for giving this vote. That is what the roundtable is saying. And for us investing so amount of votes is because we need so and so things. If we have 60% of the people living in poverty index is in the northern part of the country, you have a lot of things. So you need right now, I think I had mentioned a bill that the roundtable suggested on street destitution. So they are looking at it. If we have this leadership, we'll be able to address these issues. Once you allow this issue to go on the issue of out-of-school children, on the issue of poverty, people will migrate to the other side of the country. And you know, when they migrate to the other side of the country, there may be likelihood of crime to sow in those parts of the country. So you convince people. They have created or established or constituted lobbying group that will go and convince other people from the other zones. It's not just, we are demanding just like that, but they have made their demand. At the end of it, the communique says, if the ruling party fail to do this, we are going to de-invest our shares from this in the next elections. It's simple. These people are not politicians, but politicians relied on these people. You can't just win election without a community leader, without these researchers, without these people. So they are not politicians. They are people that canvass for votes. And they came together to put their demands. And some of them, they have been involved in researches in their various institutions on poverty, on education, on insecurity.
Yes, Professor Al-Mustafa, I'm so sorry to cut you short. We are running out of time, but thank you for being here and your analysis on that particular matter.